Banking is moving towards being available a click away. That convenience is extremely important, especially as clients are becoming tech savvy.
The future client of ours are Gen Z, and they want to be able to do everything with the touch of the phone. And I think COVID also drove this big customer behavior of migrating from the traditional way of how do you deal with banks and how do you deal with investing.
Today, if you don't have that solution available for your clients, then you're definitely not going to be able to compete and you will lose some market share.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So first of all, I would like to thank you both for joining us today. And I know that each one of you have very great profile. You have your own experience, which you would like to share with us today. So if you don't mind, just introduce yourself for the audience. I start from you.
Thank you, Darwish, and thanks for the opportunity. My name is Ebrahim Qayed, Head of Treasury Markets at Emirates Islamic. I've been with the group for about 18 years, so it's a lifetime for me.
Oh, okay. Brother Syed.
So my name is Syed Muhammad Umair. I manage the private banking and wealth management division for the bank, which also encompasses all the wealth management activities across the whole bank, including retail and the corporate and the investment bank. And I've been with the broader group for more than 13 years now. So it's a very long time I've been with the group and have grown within the organization.
So, at least from what you have mentioned now, you have very long history with the group. And I think you are the right people to be picked for this discussion, since we are talking about transformation, about fintech, digital. So how have you seen the changes happening in the Islamic finance industry, and in particular within your area of expertise in the bank? I don't know if Ebrahim would like to pick it up first, or Umair on that.
So even though I've been around 18 years in the bank, I think the moment I moved from the Emirates, from Emirates NBD into Emirates Islamic, when I joined, Syed was there as well. So we sort of grew up together in the organization, and we started the wealth management and the treasury offering to clients, in 2012, 2013. So when we started at that point of time, the processes were manual. Things used to take time. Clients had to sign a lot of documents and physical documents. What we have done over the past few years is work on innovations to change this experience. Banking is moving towards being available a click away. That convenience is extremely important, especially as times are changing. Clients are becoming tech savvy. Today you find a 70 or 75-year-old using their mobile phones for conducting the different services that they would like to execute. But don't forget that we have a growing Gen Z customer base. Now that Gen Z customer base wants things to be at their fingertips, and it's not only them, everyone does. They want things to be available as and when they want, instead of physically having to be at the branch. Now that inconvenience definitely is going to prove a very key factor in whether or not an organization advances in this area or not.
Actually, I think your answer, it seems to me to be in line with the recent approved national strategy of Sheikh Mohamad about Islamic finance strategy for the country. And actually, that strategy talks about 3 key objectives, I would say. Number 1, to develop Islamic finance industry. Number 2, to lead the global development of Islamic finance. And the third one is to enhance or to export the Islamic finance and halal products to the global. So that tells, not only from my understanding on your points, is not the behavior of the UAE, and I could sense in your statement that you are not really covering up for the market, for the UAE market or Dubai in particular, which is something I would believe hopefully will take to cross-border activities to do from Islamic finance, from fintech, reaching out to different clients, different database. That's something very important. So I don't know, Syed, if you have something from your area of expertise on that.
So I think just number one, I'll add to what Ebrahim just said. I think when around the same time when we moved from Emirates NBD to Emirates Islamic, and it was the first time I was personally exposed to Islamic banking. I think customer behavior or the customer impression used to be that to do a similar activity, what you would do in any other bank, in an Islamic bank, would take much longer to do and would be much more complicated, and it would cost more money to do that from either a profit rate perspective or fees perspective or etc. So I think over the journey, what we saw within our bank, Emirates Islamic, but in the broader market, there's been a big push towards making banking, number one, in the Islamic structures more simpler, more accessible for clients, and more cost effective so it can compete. So from a client perspective, the alternate to using a conventional player versus Islamic player, the barrier to that move becomes as low as possible. And that's on the traditional banking, right? That's on opening deposit accounts, transactional accounts, taking financing solutions, etc. When we come to wealth management, I think we've seen a big evolution. Back then in 2012, 2013, the only thing we were really doing was sukuks, because sukuk market has been around for a very long time, but the issuers were very limited, right? Probably a few sovereigns and a couple of banks. We've seen a big evolution in that space, a lot of new issuers coming to the market. We've seen a lot of new product development on the Islamic side, the Islamic wealth management side. And then we've seen the intersection of both of them by making it more accessible to people. And it was just building on what Ebrahim said, the future client of ours are Gen Z. And they want to be able to do everything with the touch of the phone. And I think COVID also drove this big customer behavior of migrating from the traditional way of how do you deal with banks and how do you deal with investing, from a traditional physical in-person visit or speak to your banker or speak to your wealth manager, to being able to do it over the phone by yourself or through a mobile environment or a tablet environment. And we saw big, huge migration during the COVID era. And I think it became an impetus for most banks in the UAE, as well as Islamic banks, to be able to provide a digital solution for this. And providing these digital solutions, not everything can be done in-house. And this is where the role of fintechs and partnership with fintechs comes into play, to be able to provide the best of a digital offering. Number one, to the client to be able to execute with the touch of their finger. And then also innovation on the product side so that it appeals to a broader base. And all of this could not be done only in-house. So a lot of fintech partnerships play a big role in that journey of evolution so that we can really provide every inch of service a client can expect to be done, even the most complicated ones, not only simply booking a fixed deposit, but all the complicated scenarios a customer may go over during the course of their interaction with a bank, be it in their basic banking products, in the structured financing side, or in the wealth management side on a digital environment. And I think one of the key parts here is you cannot digitize everything on a digital platform, right? There would always be things which are very unique, one-off processes. But to be able to make it simpler for the clients that they can fulfill them in some form or not, whether your process at the back end may still be manual. Ideally, the journey is to STP everything so that not only client gives a request on the digital app, but over there it gets fulfilled automatically. But where you're not able to do that, how do you provide avenues for the client to reach out to the bank or transact something, even though the process might still be manual with us, but at least on the digital platform? So I think there's been a big evolution across the industry. And I think Islamic banks were probably the last ones to pick up on this, on the wealth management side specifically. But we're seeing that transformation happening now. Ourselves, we have a year and a half ago launched the first Islamic wealth management solution on a fully digital basis, and it's a continuous evolution. What we have today is not the end product we want. We're seeing other Islamic banks, we're seeing independent fintechs and community digital banks also come on the Islamic side, on the pure play Islamic side. And I think all of this evolves to a bigger, let's say, audience and acceptance for clients.
Thanks, Syed, for this comprehensive answer. And actually, I could highlight key 3 points from your discussion. Number one, you touch base on very important points about the workflow of Islamic banking in terms of the documentation, the different processes has to be followed. And it seems that from your area of expertise, you are quite advanced in the market from Emirates Islamic perspective, where you have digitized your workflow, which is something very good, I would say. And certainly this will open up, not only I believe to investors within this country, this region, it will go beyond. And definitely we have to keep in mind always that most of Islamic finance assets, it remains in this region, which has at least 86% of the assets remains here. And I think by having this kind of platforms, it will open up to different regions, which will promote further not only the Islamic finance, I would say, products, it will promote the country and definitely promoting Islamic finance in particular. The other point, it's also very important, I sense it in your statement, is that focusing about the backend, the customers at the backend, in terms of having at least a small touch with the client, kind of personalized. Because sometimes some people would say, I'm not seeing the bank, I don't know where is my investments, so I'm talking to a machine. So what the difference, how I feel comfortable? I think that definitely the trust, which could create, I don't know, I will wait for your confirmation, create a difference between you and other fintech players in the market, right? Which is the third point of mine, where you mentioned many fintech players being here. You have many community banks also opens as a digital. I think that could be the plus for EI, right? And from the long history, I mean, you, both of you, mashallah, you have spent most of your time, I think, in Emirates Islamic, which tells you have history of this institution. And I think we as Emirates Islamic, we have, I mean, had our anniversary this year, I think, to complete 20 years, I believe, right? So that's something I believe will make Emirates Islamic position differently. So from that perspective, if we'd like just to shed some lights about specific offering you have done, I mean, whether Ebrahim or Umair, within your line of business to the clients directly. So
let me
let
me first take that and then I'll hand it over to Ebrahim. And I think it's a valid point you talk about. And I think banks, not only on the Islamic side, even on the conventional side, for the last 20 years have been going through this journey. When first before mobile banking, when first internet banking came along, the discussion of closing branches, and then because you have alternate channels, which was ATM, CDM, internet banking, mobile banking evolution happened, Gen Z started coming in play. And I think over the course of the last, let's say post-COVID, where a lot of global players, the traditional global players, started to move go through this migration, specifically on wealth management. And I'll to the digital channel, I will dissect this into segments, right? We have different segments of the bank, and clients have different behaviors. And I think everyone, there's a general consensus in the market in the high value segments, i.e. high net worth, your traditional private banking clients, your upper end of your affluent clients. In there, the working model or the go-to model is that, or that's a hypothesis of the market, and we believe in it wholeheartedly, and I see this day in, day out, is that you need to have, as a player, a fully digital offering for the client to be able to do everything digitally. And the client would want to be able to transact in the evening, because we're covering US markets, for example. The market opens at 6 p.m. The banker is not going to be there at 7 p.m. to come and take your order physically in person. They might be available over the phone. As opposed to me as a client calling the trading desk and placing an order. If I just open my mobile app and be able to place that order, it's extremely powerful. So I think client behavior is the ability to be able to place trades, orders, review transaction histories on the digital platform, but then have a frequent interaction face-to-face with their banker or wealth manager once a month or once in a quarter, to be able to put that physical feeling to the bank. And that's, I think, our consensus of that modus operandi we would continue to operate on our high value segments. When we go lower down the scale, specifically when you go to the Gen Z, they don't want the phase two. For them, one is enough, i.e. be able to transact, review, balance, do everything through the digital application. I think one more evolution we're seeing is how do we and other banks experiment with robo-advisory or virtual advisory that where you can dial in an advisor who can then do a video call with you to be able to review your portfolio, rebalance it, come up with new ideas, and etc. I think we in the market, a lot of fintechs are providing these type of solutions, very compelling solutions. I think we're still yet to figure out how does this fit into our overall arching delivery framework for the various segments. Maybe one model could be that robo-advisory plays a role for your Gen Z and your mass market segments, but where clients expect a physical touch, maybe a combination of in-person advisors, maybe a combination of remote video dialed-in advisors. It's going to be a suite of all three of these, which is going to get to the end solution on how do you mix physical interaction and the ability for clients to transact digitally or do everything in essence digitally on a mobile app or a desktop application. I think just before I hand off to Ebrahim, on your first point about UAE being, let's say, one of the key players on the Islamic finance industry overall and being a pioneer on wealth management, and also in line with the federal mandate that to make UAE a hub for wealth management, given that we geographically lie between Singapore and London, and there is no financial hub which has been positioned today in between the time zones of London and Singapore. UAE definitely makes a clear sense, and the government's put in place a strategy, not only on the free zone side, which is DIFC and ADGM, but also on the onshore side. And I think there a lot of evolution on the Islamic side is where we have a role to play. I think that evolution is happening, and it needs to be a combination of us with Saudi Arabia, given that our broader group has their presence in Saudi and a lot of their business in Saudi Arabia is Islamic in nature, where we need to position ourselves as the innovators in producing innovative Islamic wealth management solutions, which we can then export to the broader globe through Singapore, which covers Malaysia and Indonesia, or in North Africa, where there's a lot of affinity towards Islamic wealth management.
Thanks, Umair.
So, Ebrahim, what do you think?
I think it's important for us to look at the size of the Islamic market. So according to the Islamic Financing Development Report issued by the Central Bank of the UAE in 2024, 85% of the Gen Z are interested in dealing with Islamic financial institutions. Now, that's an important development or an important insight for us, because we know that the Islamic banking industry or the assets has increased by 12% according to the same report to $3.6 trillion. And with the initiative of Sheikh Muhammad that has been recently announced, the plan is also to increase the assets even further. Now, 80% of these Gen Zs, because they are tech savvy, have mentioned that if there are no digital solutions, then they're not going to deal with that specific institute. Now, I'll take you to maybe a story of something that used to happen long time ago when we used to deal wealth management. So, dealing at that point of time used to be, I would say, very selective. Now, a relationship manager, which is someone who has a portfolio and obviously is working on targets. So a normal human behavior is that person is going to look at the most lucrative customer for himself. Now, without digitization, there is only a specific or a maximum number of clients that the relationship manager can handle. And if you look at that, even banks by that association will have a certain number of clients that they can handle. With the digitization, we've increased our capacity and productivity. So instead of us being able to handle, let's say, per relationship manager 200 or 300 clients, now a client is able to go online and deal with any product that he is interested in after he fills the suitability questionnaire. So the digital solutions that we have introduced have reduced the entry level requirements, which increases the number of clients that are able to participate. I remember when we launched the digital solution on our EI Plus application, I think within a few months, I looked at the number of clients that have signed the investment services agreement, and the number was even more than the number of clients that have signed up for the same agreement when the business was done in a physical manner. So that we can see from the digital solutions that we have introduced that clients used to see a certain barrier, not sure whether it is accessibility to the relationship manager, accessibility to the information, is it understanding the product, or is it just something in general which they would just deal with other institutions or other applications which were available outside of the UAE. Now that we have provided this solution, clients found it definitely even more convenient for them to debit their account directly and then deal in whatever product that they wanted or that they would like to execute.
But just to add on top of what Ebrahim said, I think I completely agree that, and we've seen that actually happening. When you implement a digital solution and make it the user experience very friendly, the journey very straightforward, it really democratizes participation on various products. Things like IPOs, for example. Years ago, when we used to have an IPO and a retail subscriber would need to subscribe, they had to go to a branch. When all of this got digitized through our mobile app or issuers creating digital applications on internet banking, the increase of participation was dramatic. We saw this with small sukuks, right? Before, sukuks used to have a minimum of $200,000. When we've launched various iterations and solutions where you could reduce the minimum, and not only that, one aspect is reduce the minimum. The second aspect is the client could then transact it digitally. We saw a significant increase, 3x, 4x fold increase in number of clients subscribing. So I think as the evolution happens on the product side and on the delivery of it through digital fintech solutions, you would definitely see drastic increase in penetrations, which is also translates into more people having accessibility and ease of participating in these type of products.
Yeah.
But we also saw an increase in, I would say, financial literacy.
Yes.
Because we reduced the threshold of entry, we see that even the age of investors has reduced. So earlier you would see maybe 30 plus. Now with the lower threshold on our fractional sukuk of $25,000, we've seen clients at the age of 25 even deal. So that did change, and it does shape the client's decision-making process.
Yeah, I think you have both mentioned very important and interesting points. I mean, I could summarize that Emirates Islamic playing a leadership role to change the behavior of the investor. This is number one, and definitely from what you have said, like even changing the internal culture within the bank to move toward digital, and definitely you have to change. I mean, this is not our mandate; it's a government mandate. We know that we have Dubai digital strategy as well in this regard. So that definitely opens up different opportunities from offering products, which you have done, I believe, from investment perspective, talking about fraction sukuk, talking about IBOs. So I think here also you touch base on very important topic. I mean, that being touched base by different global regulator, which is financial inclusion, which is something very important, what you mentioned, and you try to tap untapped opportunities. So I think here I would say Emirates Islamic are playing a social role also, not only from Islamic point of view, also from educating the customers, the investors, the audience, whether internal, external, about the culture of saving as well, which is something very important, I think, and it's one of the key objectives of banking. I believe that's happened all in the back days, and
saving and investing.
Exactly. That's something very important. I mean, and that's why I think we have picked up today's session to talk about investment. Most of the, I would say, financial institutions promoting their assets products, which is the financial part. Now we choose, let's go to the investment part. And definitely here, I would leverage on your point, Umair, when you said we are in the middle of the globe. We are in the middle between Singapore and London. So this is itself an opportunity to brand Dubai and to brand this region, as in particular Dubai, as the hub. And I mean, what we are moving forward, we are moving toward or forward with implementing the strategy of the government. So we are aligned, taking the lead, driving, making that change, which is something I would believe is not easy, which make the responsibility, in particular you and us, to support on that regard, and to ensure what we are achieving is adding value and participating and contributing, not only from profit point of view, from assets point of view, no, from all aspects. Social education, like as you mentioned, like, 86%, I believe you mentioned this percentage. If there is no digital, they will not join, which I agree. I mean, looking at the Gen Z today, most of their activities is online. They play online. Everything is online. So I think we are close to everyone. But here, a key question came to my mind. What make you different, or make us, because I'm part of this institution, with or in compared to other full digital bank? How we are different here?
So look, I think I'll take this question. I'll take a crack at it. I think so. We've not seen any full digital Islamic bank. I think one recently got announced. I think they have just launched. But if I talk about the conventional one, I think, look, when you launch new, you don't have to deal with the history of legacy. Right, a bank is a legacy of historical systems built on top of each other, and for them to really go digitally native and cloud native and integrate Gen AI and implement advanced analytics, I think we went through this journey as a broader group, is to change our full architecture. And you spend time doing it. When you're a new player going and launching, for you get the architecture designed for the future day one, and then you build on top of that. So your ability to go to market is much faster. So I think there will always be roles to play for full digital banks, fully fledged digital banks who do not have a physical presence. I still believe, I think in high value segments, a physical interaction is extremely important, and it will continue to be there. So the requirement of having physical presence, clients expect that, especially when we go to the angle of a full-fledged offering, that we're having corporate banking, covering large corporates, governments, middle corporates, small and medium enterprises on the retail side, covering private banking individuals for wealth management, affluent, etc. When you want to do full spectrum, I do not believe a full digital bank can provide the full spectrum of services. Yes, in certain segments, they will be able to compete and they will win. I think the other key thing which is going to change the industry drastically is open banking. Right, open banking will convert banking to be banking as a service, i.e. will be embedded in different applications in your Dubizzles of the world, or other types of digital plays will have banking as a service provided within those apps. And now I think it becomes very important, or becomes a main prerogative for the banks to figure out, in the environment of open banking, how do we stay relevant? What value add service do we need to provide to be relevant in the world of open banking, so that we can still keep our competitive edge? Nonetheless, the industry will evolve. The industry will change. Certain segments we may lose out in, which may get migrated out, but I still believe a large segment will still stay on, but with the bank having a prerogative to really evolve on the digital side, integrate with open banking, and come out with powerful use cases and powerful propositions in that new environment. And I think one last thing is really the last evolution is the evolution of blockchain, and how do we incorporate into blockchain, how blockchain will change the payments world, and how banks evolve towards integrating. It's not only about allowing clients to invest in crypto, right? I think Islamic banks are still going through that journey of figuring out what structures do we allow can be designated as Sharia compliant, and working with our Sharia internal committees with HSA to figure that out. But that's on the financial investing part. I think there's another part on blockchain and integrating blockchain and various crypto platforms to be used on daily transaction and banking and payments network. So I think it's a very interesting time on the banking landscape and the overall financial landscape. And I don't think banks will have the full answers for it. It will be a combination of fintechs, will be a combination of digital banks, and will be a combination of the traditional banks who learn to evolve and be nimble in terms of their digital solutions and their value propositions in this new day and age.
I absolutely agree with you, and I think you have highlighted very important topic, which is, I mean, going on for the last 6-7 months, which is open banking, and that definitely a requirement from ecosystem perspective. And I think, as always, definitely, I mean, UAE, Dubai taking always a pioneer role to develop and to lead. I think not only the region, I would say globally also, about the digital offering, about the financial requirements, which is something very important. Umair, you have mentioned, even Ebrahim, when you mentioned about, I like your idea when you mentioned, for example, today I have customers, they have signed your agreement to join the investment activities. There was no access to that before. So you are reaching to your client reaching to you. So it's both ways today. With the open banking, what Umair also mentioned, now everything will be on the table. And something very important, I will take it away from Umair points, is that we cannot have or say I'm competing 100% with digital banking, because banking requires different line of businesses. And we could sense and say that, alhamdulillah, from Emirates Islamic Bank perspective, we have the key and all required business lines, and trying to evolve and bring a change, I would say. And beyond that, to drive the market also on it, from structuring perspective, from Islamic finance perspective, from offering perspective, from workflow perspective. So I felt today I'm not sitting with bankers, to be honest with you. I felt I'm sitting with IT experts. I felt that from the passion that you were answering the questions.
Gen Z IT experts.
Although you are not Gen Z, but
I feel Gen Z.
But I felt that I'm sitting with Gen Z today. I mean, I felt fully digital today with you. I had this this feeling. I felt it in your answers. I felt a passion also to change something, to take the challenge, and not to bring only Emirates Islamic to a different level. No, to bring the entire Islamic finance industry to a different level. And I would say, like the way Ebrahim was talking about treasury space, is like, I want to take it up. This is not only my area, it's the industry area. Similarly, like when Umair said about we are the leading in the wealth management, and that's sensed. I mean, I think you, Ebrahim, mentioned that about the number of database of customers that we have today, and I think this is something very important and key for us. I mean, and that instruction from top management, customer always first.
Yes.
And customer comes for, as I think better than me to explain that, but technically they will come based on the trust, based on a user-friendly. Also, Syed Umair mentioned that about compliance, also mentioning the Sharia, the legal, the compliance elements that we have. So we don't see business only from one angle of offering or making a profitable product. No, we try to test the product from different angles, whether from compliance perspective, workflow perspective, customer perspective, just to ensure we are having a full proposition, fully digitized, fully marketable, not only within this country, in Dubai. No, we are looking always beyond. And that, I believe, in line with the strategy of this country and in line with the strategy of Dubai in particular.
I'd like to add one last point. Competition in the market is fierce. Now, you have two ends of the spectrum, completely brick and mortar or completely digital. And you have across the spectrum, different models that banks could go for. About 20 or 30 years ago, if you have a digital solution, that would have been considered an innovation. Today, if you don't have that solution available for your clients, then you're definitely not going to be able to compete and you will lose some market share. Now, as Umair said, it is important for you to understand the segments that you would like to target as an organization. And if you know the combination or what is the different needs and requirements of the segments that you would like to target as a bank, then you need to look for the right model for you, which will allow you to cater for those clients' needs. Now, it's important to look at digital solutions that are efficient. With open banking that is going to become, inshallah, prevalent in this market, what will happen is the institution that has the best digital solution is going to be used more than anyone else, because with open banking from a single platform or from a single institution's digital platform, you would be able to do all of your services. Now that is going to be, inshallah, the next challenge for all the Islamic financial institutions in the UAE, or financial institutions and fintechs in general.
Thank you, Ibrahim. This is very good remark from your side.
I think on a closing from my perspective, I'd also to add on top to what Mohamad mentioned, I think, yes, I wholeheartedly believe on the wealth management space, we're far ahead, but I don't think we're there to where we want to be. I think our journey is still evolving. One topic we talked about is open banking, but also the other topic, and that's the passion, is really when you go and look at a digital platform which is based out of Europe or in the US on the conventional side, my view is we should be able to provide every single option and service and capability those platforms are providing for Islamic clients in the UAE and in the region. And I think that's that as of today, and what open banking may change over there, and what product innovation may change over there. So I think we're in the journey of evolution. I think all of us have always been in the journey of evolution, but specifically on digital wealth, I think we still have a way to go to really stand out, not in the UAE. That's not our target. Our target is to be the premier Islamic wealth manager from a product innovation perspective and a digital delivery perspective, and digital delivery and capability across the broader region. And that's the aim that we go with, so that we stand out in the broader GCC MENA region.
Definitely, I will thank you both. It was very interesting topic, and I know the time is very short. I mean, we cannot cover each and everything. I know we have used very big statements to highlight today. I don't know if you'd like to add something else, but I think we have closed. We reached out to the end and have nothing else to thank you.
Thanks a lot, and inshallah we'll meet next year.
We'll see you next year, inshallah.
Thank you very much.